Over the last 24 hours, a huge esports controversy has erupted kind of out of nowhere. The game in question is Counter-Strike 2, and it has to do with an org here, Monte Esports. It's a Ukrainian org, and it's not necessarily one of these top teams, like, for example, Luminosity, which we'll be going over in a sec here, but it's very high up there and close to being up there with the top dogs. Now, recently, Monte had actually had their team perform really well in CS at one of the recent majors, and shortly after that, there was a roster update with 4 of the 5 people on their roster leaving, and that included the people we're talking about today: Afro, Azuwu, Rainwaker, and probably most importantly here, Bymas, or I may be butchering how to pronounce that. But these 4 individuals left, and then actually shortly after that, Gizmy, the last person there, ended up leaving as well, and they went to 100 Thieves. Bymas, Afro, and Azuwu ended up getting signed to Luminosity Gaming, and there was a bit of controversy. It seemed as though they had gotten poached from the major that they had performed very well in. They had placed very high, being the team that they were, and kind of being like a second tier kind of team, and it seemed like they were poaching good players and effectively like ripping apart a roster for a lower org. Now, unfortunately, Bymas ended up performing very poorly while he was on Luminosity over the next, couple months. And Monte made a post here on July 3rd in Joy, and it was showing that Luminosity was losing their games at different pro leagues, things like that. Now, unfortunately, due to Bymas not performing to the best of his ability, there was a roster update just a couple days ago here. Effective immediately, Bymas will move to the bench. Thank you, Armas, for everything, which I believe is their other name here. Bymas would make a tweet talking about this. As of today, I've been moved to the bench and am allowed to explore my options. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to represent such an organization, and I really wish the guys nothing but the best going forward. These guys were like family to me, and I genuinely enjoyed spending time with all of them. As for me, I'm disappointed that I couldn't perform at the level I wanted to in officials lately. I'm going to work hard to become the player I know I can be. I'm hungry and determined and will come back stronger. I'm ready and looking to contribute to a new project. So, pretty understandable. He's got to look for different work. He didn't perform to the best of his ability. Okay. Monte Esports, his old org, replies to this tweet. Shit happens. Now, in tandem with this, very recently as well, Monte Esports ended up releasing a YouTube video. The title of this video, as they are Ukrainian, translates roughly to "What happened to Monte, how players deceived the team before major." Now, I did my best to just throw this bad boy into Google Translate and understand what was going on, but for the sake of ease here, I loaded up ChatGPT and I threw the transcript through this to translate it and help me summarize it. So take this with a grain of salt, as it was ran through ChatGPT and I have no real way to vet it, but I think it has a general understanding of what's going on in this video. They try to point out a few things, like they had no idea about these people effectively chatting with Luminosity and prepping and signing with Luminosity, and that it must have been happening during the major, and they found out afterwards that three-fifths of their team was looking to sign with Luminosity. They also referred to the players that dipped to Luminosity as rats, which again, keep in mind, for a professional org to be behaving this way is truly insane. Like there is so much disrespect here, and it is so unprofessional that it's mind-blowing that they're acting like this. On top of that, apparently they just kind of start being verbally abusive to some of the individuals here. For instance, they say that Bymas played the major like a Faceit level 5 player, essentially comparing a professional to an average matchmaking player. They call him mentally and morally weak and compare him to a lethargic seal. If there is any Ukrainian that may understand this terminology more than how this is getting translated, let me know. They speculate that he also was playing poorly because he felt guilty for signing with Luminosity. This is something that's really important here. Monte says its mistake was treating the players too well. The speakers ask what Monte supposedly did to cause the departure, and the answer was, we simply treated them too well, and that they should have issued an ultimatum of them signing the contract for them to renew for another year with their org, or don't go to the major or any other important event. They also apparently made jokes about writing performance penalties into contracts, including 50% salary reduction for bad play, 90% reduction if a player finishes below a 1.0 rating, and leaving players with only enough money to buy food. This is very ironic. Now, it seems like in conjunction with this tweet here, but also the release of that video that we just kind of went over, Bymas ends up making a huge message and some huge accusations. Since Monte seems comfortable taking shots at me publicly, I think it's only fair to give some context. Monte owes me tens of thousands of dollars plus my share of Monte's major team sticker revenue. I'll explain that in a sec. I haven't received any tournament prize money since 2025, and I'm also still owed multiple monthly payments and performance bonuses. Multiple former players and the coach are also still owed substantial amounts to my knowledge. I stayed quiet for a long time because I respected the organization and wanted to give them every chance to sort this out privately and make things right. Payment delays were also a recurring issue throughout my time with Monte. We repeatedly reached out asking why this kept happening and were told it would be fixed, but nothing ever really changed. Over time, that made it harder and harder to trust that things would be handled properly. And to be clear, this had a major impact on my decision not to re-sign with Monte. We've seen too many players in esports get burned by organizations that fail to pay what they owe, so I wasn't willing to put myself in that position. It's hard to commit your future to an org when situations like this keep happening. The situation at Monte was uncertain. Re-signing would have meant committing to an organization we no longer trusted to consistently meet its financial obligations, with no guarantee that that same roster would even stay together long term. The hate towards Luminosity and the players is unjustified. If anything, Monte's own actions and failures were a big reason why things ended the way they did. Choosing not to re-sign is not betrayal. After repeated payment issues and everything that had happened, we had every right to make the decision we felt was best for our careers. Calling us rats or traitors for that doesn't change the reasons why we chose to move on. If you have time to comment and make videos taking shots at former players, you should probably have time to pay the people who worked for you and earned that money. P.S. What makes this even harder to understand is that Monte received a very substantial amount of money from buyouts after the major, while former players and staff were still waiting to be paid what they are owed. So that is quite a substantial amount of allegations, mainly being, you guys aren't paying us. And to jump back really quick, the major team sticker revenue, this is noted as being something that's also a very big deal. A part of how like the Valve revenue share thing kind of works has to do with these stickers, which are purchased during each of these majors. And the proceeds for the stickers that you buy, each of the stickers have a different brand from each different org. The org that those stickers are purchased on behalf of, the people that are buying them, that revenue gets split amongst, I believe, a good chunk of it goes to Valve, but then the other portion of the proceeds is given to that team to help with funding. And in most cases, from what I've seen, the sticker revenue that they generate dwarfs the winnings that they usually get from even like winning a major. So it's a huge amount of money that they are missing out on for no discernible reason. And we do have posts coming from Azuwu here, as well as Rainwaker. We'll start with Azuwu's here. Sad that it came to this, but it is a relief for this to finally be brought to light. The hate from the community was seriously extreme. We had multiple delayed payments, our contracts were expiring, and on top of that, I never even received a draft of a contract extension, only a verbal proposal to prolong until the end of the year on the exact same terms as when I first joined Monte. I hope you guys will pay all of us the amounts we are due before you sign your new team. A huge thank you to Luminosity for believing in us and taking all of the hate from the community while we waited to see if Monte would pay up. Following that, Rainwaker also makes a message here, totally agree with Bymas. It sucks that it had to become public, but same here, I still haven't received any of the prize pool for my time with Monte. Now jumping back to Bymas's message here, Monte actually replies under it. Good text, you can tell it was approved by the agent. A 2-week delay in salary payment is, of course, incredibly critical and painful. Being sarcastic about it, which again, he wasn't even claiming a 2-week delay here. He's saying he hasn't been paid out for any tournament winnings of 2025. We're getting close to a year. That's 8-9 months at this point. And then there's a bit of additional context from Rainwaker's agent here. Monte sold Rainwakers to Luminosity with around 6 months left on his contract, receiving a healthy buyout equivalent to several years of his base salary. Despite cashing in on his transfer, Rainwaker is still owed a significant amount in prize money and salary, and last but not least, his share of sticker/digital item revenue from the IEM Cologne Major. If Monte don't clear their debts to the players, they should not be allowed to compete in tournaments ever again. And until every outstanding debt has been paid, I sincerely hope no player or agency will do business with this org. And then additionally, Afro, who I mentioned earlier, who also switched over, they ended up making their own message as well. And in here, he's kind of referencing how everyone was like really pissed off at Luminosity, seemingly, having poached these guys. To everyone that criticized the moves, the decisions, this and that, I recommend to read this one and make your assumptions after it. And down below, he had attached Bymas's message here. I respect Monte for the time we spent in the org and the energy and the trust they gave us. Lately, they've been very disrespectful, and it's sad because business is business, and everyone in this ecosystem should be smart enough to understand our motivations and the reasons that made us take the decision to sign with LG. I feel very sorry for the Ukrainian fan base that was showing incredible support to the team, and I want to thank you guys for the energy given to us. And it pretty much closes out there. Now, Monte is denying a bit of this, but they have also kind of gone on a run and have just started replying to tweets in the most unprofessional way. Now, there are some parts where they are defending themselves, but there are other parts where they're just flat out just starting shit. Just sorting by the most recent here, Michael here saying, imagine defending your own business by publicly saying 2-week delays in salary payments are completely fine. Great advertisement. Monte replies, any delays are a bad thing, that's always a problem, but the players always received their wages and were informed of any possible delays, which were in fact no more than 2 weeks. Doesn't add up with what 3 other individuals are claiming, but I digress. Moving on. Whole time, that's crazy. That's not crazy. Have a look at how long he's been with the organization. If you know how long it takes for prize money to be paid out, all your questions will be answered. Insane thing to be saying amongst professional players who are a part of orgs. Ivan here says it's sad to see how over the past year, as many as 3 of our esport clubs have tarnished not only their reputations, but also the image of Ukrainian esports. Now European players will perceive us as shady scammers who don't pay salaries/prizes and also come out with dubious statements. Very bad. Monte replies, it is not worth comparing our situations with Kono and Peshin, I'm assuming the other orgs. No player, except for certain players of the current roster, had financial claims against us. We always paid salaries and everything else, even despite the difficult times for the organization. The one individual that was kind of like defending them and being on their side of it was the one guy who stuck around and then ended up joining 100 Thieves. Alexander here, who is a former CS2 coach and broadcast analyst, said, whoever runs this account must be the biggest moron I have seen in a while, to which Monte replies, don't forget that you're the top of the list of the biggest morons. In replying to Bait Esports for mentioning good luck building a squad of 5 with a budget of 1, talking about how they seem to have only been paying 1 player, being that only one of the players are actually defending them, Monte replies back, we'll buy cheap young players from Russian teams just as you do, which, as you guys should know, Ukraine and Russia being in a war right now, they're getting a bit political with it. And this is just like, this is a vicious thing to say to someone, saying that, you know, you're effectively taking the enemies of our nation and throwing them into your teams just because you can pay them cheap. Insane thing to throw around. And they responded back. They say back, it seems your awareness of who B8 kisses at events is the same as your understanding of the difference between the meanings of buy and rent for free. 0 players, gossip, debts, and fact rigging. Combo. Now, this is obviously translated from Ukrainian, or they did it on their own. So I'm assuming just like, get fucked, mic drop, that kind of thing. And obviously, this is not just my analysis. This is the general sentiment here from Dima Wallhacks, a content creator focused primarily on CS2. What a disgusting way to respond to your former players' tweets that still owed money since 2025. I have never seen an esports org act so petty ever. Even a 2-week salary delay is absolutely crazy. People got bills to pay, families to support, have some fucking respect. And they were talking about you could tell this was approved by the agent. So as of right now, this is all we have so far. I reached out to Bymas to see if he'd be willing to do an interview. If he does, I'd love to learn more about his side of things and potentially maybe have some evidence to prove their side of things. As of right now, I don't think they've had any documentation or proof, but at the same time, thinking about that, I don't know how you necessarily have proof of not being paid, maybe showing bank statements of them not receiving it. But curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Monte, of course, denies not paying them out outside of 2-week delays, but it seems that they're also cognizant of the fact that these people weren't getting paid, so it's a bit confusing. And some of their incredibly unprofessional candor with their tweets leads me to believe that they don't have much evidence to support that they were paying these players. And if they did, this would absolutely be the time to provide it. So if they do end up doing something like that again, I will make a video about it. But that is it for the video today. If you'd prefer to listen to these bad boys on Spotify, I'll leave a link in the description. Also, if you're 18 years up, want to chat in the Discord, play some games, stay up to date on news and drama, and I'll leave a link for it in the pinned comment here. And last thing, if you are still here, like the video, perchance give it a hype. It really helps boost it in the algorithm. And subscribe. 3 very quick button presses for you mean the world for me. But regardless of any of that, just thanks for sticking around to the end. And I'll see you guys later. Adios. Peace. Bye.